In a few seconds, you're going to listen to a frightening tale narrated by me. Fear awaits you. Watch out and take care. The company where Sam works plans to go on a retreat. Shortly before the journey, Sam sees a print on the bus stairs that says "Watch your step," and he feels wrong. On the way, Isaac leaves his seat to make a private call in the back. As soon as they get on a bridge under construction, Sam feels unrelaxed. Suddenly, the bus is stopped by one of the workers, and Sam injures his thumb. Outside, high winds begin to blow and Sam feels the bus shake. He asks Peter if he feels the same, but Peter doesn't. Sam, however, knows something's wrong. Later, while a worker cuts a part of the bridge, a crack spreads out from it throughout the bridge, first sinking a car in front of the bus. Seeing this, Sam grabs his girlfriend, Molly, to get off the bus while others follow when the bridge begins to break off. Peter's girlfriend, Candace, first gets trapped after she accidentally digresses. Then she drops off, not into the water, but onto a boat's sail pole below and dies. When Isaac returns and notices the disaster, it's already too late. The bus drops off and he is terminated. While the bridge is snapping apart, Sam and the rest of the passengers make their way to the end of the bridge, but they are eventually trapped when the bridge suddenly breaks midway. Now, the only way to get to the other end of the bridge is the linking rail that carries the concrete. Using the concept of ladies first, Sam asks Molly to go before him. But before Sam can use the rail himself, he hears Olivia crying for help after dropping her glasses and is hardly able to see. So he rushes to bring her to the rail. For the second time, ladies first. Olivia crawls since she's partially blind, and follows Molly's voice. She gets near Molly but not close enough to successfully reach for her hand. The rail gives way soon enough and she slides off into the water below. Unfortunately, a car drops from the bridge directly on top of her. As Nathan makes a run for it to the end of the bridge with his boss, Dennis, he gets eliminated all of a sudden. Sam quickly notices the bridge giving way and runs to the edge before it begins to drop people off. Dennis almost drops off too but holds tightly onto something. However, hot asphalt spills on him at the same time, burning him before he lets go. Peter from the back notices the bridge going down and runs to grab onto a bent railing on the end of the bridge, only left for him to climb up. Nevertheless, he waits to see Sam do the same and Sam jumps just before the bridge goes down. Unfortunately, the railing is too weak for two. However, it bears their weight only to leave them with something grave to deal with. As they struggle to make it to the top, a few poles fire directly at Peter, terminating him. Seeing this, panicking Sam begins to rush to the top, but he doesn't get so lucky as he's eventually terminated. Then he wakes up to realize that it was all a trance and he's still sitting intact there on the bus. But at the same time, the bus stops the same way and he injures his thumb. The same series of events as he saw in his trance begins to unfold and he immediately understands the gravity of the situation. At once, he goes to pick up Molly while warning everyone to get off the bus, saying the bridge will collapse. Dennis tells him it's just construction. Dennis later asks Peter to get to them in case something happens to them. Candace also follows him as he does. At the same time, the boss gets out and the bridge snaps, causing a crack that spreads throughout the bridge. However, only 8 of the employees manage to make it to the other end before it falls off into the river with the other 17 on it. Sam is taken in for interrogation by the FBI about how he knew it would happen and he tells Agent Block he only had a vision. Block first considers him a terrorist, but soon, he gets a message that the collapse was caused as a result of high winds and structural damage from the construction. The next day, before the funeral service of the 17 dead employees starts, Sam's colleagues are concerned about the occurrence. They know there has to be a reason Sam knew the bridge would go down, but they eventually put it behind them. After the funeral, while Peter and Sam walk back home, a stranger gives them a message that death doesn't like to be cheated and advises them to be careful. Peter merely finds him creepy and leaves, but Sam stays back, understanding that there is more to the creepy man than meets the eye. After working the first shift at a restaurant, Sam goes to Molly's house and confesses to her that when the bridge started to collapse, all he thought of was getting her to safety. Meanwhile, Peter meets Candace at the gym about to start her last practice routine for the college gymnastics championship. She feels unprepared, but Peter encourages her. The gym feels hot and an electrician fixes the fans but accidentally leaves a peeled cable on the gym floor. As Candace is about to start practicing, she feels something is wrong but continues nevertheless. A screw drops from the ceiling fan on the gymnastic beam unknown to her. Then, as she goes for her second practice routine, she nearly steps on the cable, which now has water dripping on it from the ceiling. She would have been electrocuted by the water trickling close to her foot, but she luckily drops a hand towel on it and steps instead on the towel. As she starts her second routine, the screw holding the bar is about to come loose. But it eventually doesn't. Instead, the same screw Candace missed on the beam injures another person practicing after her. She trips, causing a miss that then distracts Candace. This in turn causes her to swing off the bar and hit the floor hard, breaking her spine and dying. Later, while Sam sympathizes with Peter at the gym, he sees the creepy man again and wonders why he's following them. Back at the company, Olivia believes that Candace only died because of the nature of gymnastics. Also, Dennis is busy working on more than he can handle since most of his workers are dead and the company will be shut down soon as a result. Isaac, on the other hand, goes around the dead staff's desks, stealing their possessions. There, he also steals a spa ticket and goes to the spa later that evening. After being attended to by a pretty lady and laid on the bed, he's surprised to find that an old woman is the one handling the therapy session. While she aligns his bones, one of the bed stands creaks unknown to them. Next, he's put on a mild acupuncture and instructed to sleep for 30 minutes, after which the woman departs the candlelit room after switching off the electric bulbs. The candles mysteriously start a fire and Isaac wakes up to call for help. In his struggle to get out of the bed stand gives way and he falls flat on his face and faints. Just then, a sterilizing fluid pours out on the floor. But nothing happens until Isaac wakes up to find the needles already inside him. He then tries to flee the room but stops when his phone suddenly rings. He thinks of taking the call since it has to be his girlfriend, but at the same time, a candle drops on the fluid and causes an explosion that causes him to trip. Happy Isaac sees how lucky he is when the fire doesn't get to him in size. But unfortunately, a Buddha statue drops straight on his head and crushes it. Sam is convincing Molly to go with him to Paris when Peter brings them the news of Isaac's death. Again, he sees the creepy man at the scene and goes after him this time. The rest follow while he asks the man who he is. It turns out that he's just a coroner who happens to have seen such cases where a lucky few people survive a disaster and death later comes after them one by one. He says that they shorten death by escaping what happened on the bridge and can't afford to escape it eventually. He then gives them the only solution to the tragic situation, and that is to take someone else's lifespan by killing them. This is when they then understand that death is hanging around them. But Sam realizes that he rescued Molly in his vision, so she's probably not going to die. But Olivia and Dennis are absent at the scene, so they arrange to inform them immediately. Meanwhile, Olivia visits a clinic to undergo eye surgery. She freaks out while she's under the equipment. Her head is tightly held in place and a device is used to widen her eye. Unknowingly, her teddy bear's eye pops out and drops on the floor. Soon, the doctor leaves to get a file. In the meantime, a cup of water accidentally drops, splashing water into an electric socket and causing the equipment to malfunction. As soon as she notices, she tries in vain to reach for the emergency button. After calling for help, the equipment reaches a critical stage and the laser blinds her eye. Soon, Sam and Molly rush in to rescue her, but she gets up and trips on the teddy bears as she dropped on the floor and falls out of the window, with her eye popping out. Sam later finds out that the recent deaths are exactly in the order he saw in his vision. He discovers that after Olivia, Nathan is the next to die. At the company factory, Nathan argues with a worker, Roy, while feeling something is wrong. He notices sparks and the likelihood of a crane hook falling on them. So he tries to push Roy out of the way, but Roy falls and gets caught by the hook, eliminating him. In the meantime, Peter warns Dennis about the kill or be killed situation, but Dennis doesn't seem to believe anything he says. Then they meet at the factory to discuss what happened, where Peter threatens Nathan into disclosing that he really did kill Roy to claim his lifespan. Peter then demands to know who's next from Sam, but before he can reveal it, Dennis comes asking what happened, and at the same time, a wrench launched by the belt sander splits his face. Later, Sam vows to stop living in fear and he goes to work at the restaurant that evening. However, everything he sees scares him to death. Then, he takes the offer to intern in Paris from his restaurant boss. That night after work, Peter visits Molly and Sam during a date, looking upset after knowing he's next. Peter tells them about having had different opportunities to take someone else's life, but he couldn't because they didn't deserve to die. Then he questions why Molly deserves to live and draws a gun to eliminate her. Sam rescues Molly at once and they run to the kitchen, where Peter later catches up with them and knocks Sam out since killing him won't do him any good. He then turns a few stoves on, intending to blow up the place. Agent Block shows up at the scene soon and Peter eliminates him. However, we all understand that Peter now really can't let Molly live after witnessing him murder Block. So he still attempts to kill her. Sam later wakes up and rescues Molly, causing the gun to drop on a stove during the fight. Peter beats Sam up and Molly comes back to rescue him when Peter intends to stab him. He overpowers Molly and attempts to stab her, but Sam takes him out. Meanwhile, the pistol on the stove is so red hot that it fires in Sam's direction, failing to kill Sam, making him conclude that he is finally safe. 2 weeks later, Sam and Molly are on a plane to Paris when two of the students on the plane warn that everyone should get off the plane after having a vision. When Sam hears this after the takeoff, he understands the situation, but it's already too late. The engines catch fire and Molly is sucked out and eliminated before the plane then explodes with Sam inside. Meanwhile, Nathan is told at Roy's memorial by a coworker that Roy's autopsy shows that Roy would have eventually died of a brain disease, which means trading Roy's life never counted. Just then, the landing gear of the crashing plane breaks through the roof and crushes him. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.